Toyota used to race in Formula One, and they spent billions of dollars on a team that never won a single race, barely got any points, and ended up in a cheating scandal with Ferrari that involved court charges and the ousting of their team principal. Now, 15 years later, Toyota just announced that they're returning to Formula One. And if you're a Toyota fanboy like me, you're probably frothing at the mouth. You see, Formula One is at its most popular in years, and Toyota is in a sports car renaissance with news of even more awesome cars to come. But for those of us that have followed F1 from before Drive to Survive existed, well, you probably remember how Toyota's last F1 venture ended. And well, you're laughing at the idea of a sequel. But long before Toyota even thought about racing in F1, they were racing somewhere else. They were racing on the rally stage. Toyota's first proving grounds were not on Monza or the Nürburgring. They were the grueling dirt roads of Africa, Europe, and South America. This was the World Rally Championship, and the racing conditions in WRC were brutal. But Toyota proved year after year that they could build cars just as badass as the Lancias, Fords, and Mitsubishis they raced against. And it was Toyota's success in the 70s, 80s, and 90s WRC that cemented the reputation that Toyotas were truly bulletproof. Cars like the Corolla and Celica that were transformed from boring daily drivers to fire-breathing dirt monsters, thanks to Toyota Team Europe and Ove Andersson, the Swedish rally driver that became the head honcho for Toyota's rally effort. And with every passing year, Toyota Team Europe built bigger and badder rally cars with some of the most cutting-edge technology. And paired with drivers like Carlos Sainz and Juha Kankkunen, it meant one thing and one thing only: championships. Championships that would put Toyota and their Celica alongside the elites of racing, winning championship after championship. But that same legacy that put Toyota's jersey up in the rafters also tainted Toyota's name forever, because in 1995, Toyota was caught cheating. The FIA had discovered that Toyota was using illegal turbo restrictors in their WRC car, the Celica GT4. Now, turbo restrictors were mandated by the FIA in order to limit the power each car could make, evening the playing field between cars. But Toyota's engineers had a sneaky little secret. They had the restrictor plate, and if you were to inspect it before a race, it would look totally unassuming. And that restrictor plate, when pushed by hand, remained in place exactly as it should. But during the race, well, the restrictor plate would open up under the pressure created by the turbo, thus reducing the restriction and allowing the turbo to spool more freely, a tactic that was enough to gain 50 horsepower in an era where cars only made about 300. The cheat was so good that it passed the inspection of veteran judges and technicians, and you could remove the turbo from the car, tear it apart, and still that sneaky restrictor would be hidden in plain sight. In fact, to this day, it's not even certain how the FIA found out. For all we know, it was those dirty data brokers. Who are the data brokers? Well, it's the sketchy corporations that collect all of your personal information from public records, social media, the government, or even other data brokers. And then they take all of your private info and sell it to anyone and everyone, leaving you open to identity theft, stalking, or perhaps even your rival rally teams finding out all sorts of secret information. Of course, if you're a pro like me, you use Delete Me, the sponsor of today's video. Delete Me is a service that will remove your personal information from the internet. And trust me, if you Google yourself, you'll find that there's probably a lot of your private details out there. All you have to do is submit your info to Delete Me, and their team of experts will find and remove your personal information from online. Check out my report. In just a week, Delete Me went through nearly 1,000 listings and found 31 different data brokers with my personal info. And without me lifting a finger, Delete Me has started the process of removing that data from those slimy data brokers' hands. And the best part is, Delete Me is constantly searching for your info, so you just sit back and get regular reports showing you how they're keeping your data private. Lucky for you, you can get a 20% discount on your Delete Me subscription using the code ALBON in the link in the description. And hopefully you won't end up with your top secret deets in your rivals' hands like the Toyota Rally team did. The leading theory was that there was a whistleblower inside the Toyota camp, but honestly, it was probably pretty easy to figure out considering the Celicas would outrun the Subarus in every single rally stage. The FIA president even said it was the most ingenious thing he had ever seen in his 30 years in motorsports, but cheating is cheating, and cheating comes with consequences, like a 12-month suspension and being stripped of all points earned in the season. And that, my friends, was the beginning of the end for Toyota in rally. Carlos Sainz eventually got within 2 points of winning in 1998, but suffered engine failure just 500 meters away from the finish line, and in 1999, Toyota would leave rally racing for good. But you see, rally was not the end for Toyota Motorsports. And in the grand scheme of things, Toyota was hugely successful in proving that they could build race cars with the best of them. So then, why not take the next step in racing? Why not race at Le Mans? Now, if we're being technical, Toyota and Le Mans wasn't a new relationship. Plenty of Toyota-backed teams had competed at the big race dating back to Dome in the 80s, but this would be the first time that Toyota would send their own, fully prepped team. And in 1998, Toyota made their Le Mans debut with 3 TS020 prototype cars. And of the 3 cars, only one of them crossed the finish line, the one driven by the Japanese racers, Ukyo Katayama, Toshio Suzuki, and Keiichi Tsuchiya. Yes, the Drift King himself. But, well, they only came in 9th place. Not a bad start, but not exactly the same as their WRC report card. So they went back to the drawing board for the 1999 race, and once again, 2 of the cars didn't finish the race, with the Japanese drivers being the only one, this time, in a very respectable 2nd place. But as close as victory was, that 1999 year was it for Toyota at Le Mans, because just like with WRC, they announced that they would not be coming back next year. It seemed the bright star that Toyota Motorsports became in the 80s and 90s was quickly supernovaing. They always showed tremendous promise in whatever they did, but it seemed they just couldn't keep success close by. But Toyota wasn't content with walking away from racing, not like this, not as quitters and cheaters. So with their rally and Le Mans chapters now closed, they had one more stage in mind. A stage where only the best dared to compete, the biggest stage in motorsports, Formula One. And this wasn't just about winning races anymore, it was about proving to the world that Toyota's engineering prowess could stand toe-to-toe with the likes of Ferrari, McLaren, Williams, Renault, and Cosworth, and not just stand alongside them, but beat them. Now, the plan for Toyota to join F1 had been brewing for a couple of years. It's actually why they entered Le Mans in the first place, to gain experience competing at this level. And they needed that experience because this wasn't going to be just a partnership or collaboration. No, this was a full-on works team, entirely in-house for Toyota, and they were putting their money where their mouth was, investing nearly $500 million into their F1 program that first year, by far the highest budget on the grid. Their F1 car was designed by Gustav Brunner, a man that designed race cars for March, Ferrari, Zack Speed, and so on, and behind the wheel was Alan McNish and Finn Mikasato. But sadly, the most exciting thing about Toyota's debut F1 season was the announcement that this was their first F1 season. They scored like 2 points in the whole season, 2 points in 2002. And the first point was during the first race when half the grid crashed in turn 1 after Schumacher crashed and flew over Rubens Barrichello, which, to be fair, would have still been a decent accomplishment if Alan McNish in the other Toyota wasn't part of that pileup too, ending his F1 debut in turn 1 and making Toyota's first race a very expensive one. The next point, their last point, came in the 3rd race of the season, and every race after that was either 7th or worse place or a DNF. But hey, every great journey has to start somewhere, right? And with a massive budget and an in-house team that was still finding their footing, there was nowhere to go but up. And in 2003, they did just that. Okay, well, sort of. For 2003, Toyota brought in a totally new driver lineup. Cristiano D'Amata, fresh off winning a kart championship, and Olivier Panis, a seasoned veteran with a Monaco GP win under his belt. And the car, now called the TF103, showed clear signs of improvement. It was faster, more reliable, and managed to score points in 8 different races. And by the end of that season, Toyota had racked up 16 points. Not exactly championship material, but 8 times better than 2002. But while that was progress, the results still didn't match the hype or the dang budget. Toyota was spending more than championship teams just to finish in the midfield. And they just couldn't challenge the likes of Ferrari, Williams, or McLaren like they had so confidently set out to do. Still, Toyota was moving forward. Their team continued to adapt and further the engineering of their cars, but the question was, how long could Toyota keep pouring money into this project without seeing the results they wanted? And heading into 2004, the pressure was mounting. On paper, the TF104, Toyota's new F1 car, seemed like it had potential. Toyota worked hard to address the weaknesses of the 103, aiming for better aerodynamics and improved reliability. They even brought in a technical director from Renault, Mike Gascoigne, line in order to push the car further, but there was a problem. The improved aero on the TF104, well, it looked an awful lot like the aero on the Ferrari F2003, the car that had won the 2003 championship. And well, it wasn't just Ferrari saying that. Even the fans began to accuse Toyota of copying Ferrari's homework, and it was so close that Ferrari would end up lodging a formal complaint with the FIA that would result in a years-long investigation accusing Toyota of industrial espionage, something that we will get back to later. But while the Toyota TF104 was marginally better, potentially thanks to some Ferrari aero, it still wasn't enough to keep pace with the rapidly evolving field. The driver lineup remained unchanged, with Cristiano Di Matta and Olivier Panis behind the wheel, but that was at the start of the season, and neither of them would end the season as Toyota drivers. And to add to the fire, there was the Canadian Grand Prix halfway through, where both the Toyota and Williams BMW cars had been disqualified after the race, once the FIA stewards realized that both teams were running illegal brake ducts. It seemed like a small thing, but it showed that even while bending the rules, the best Toyota could do was 8th place. By the end of the 2004 season, it really seemed like everything was falling apart for Toyota. They scored just 9 points, finishing 8th in the Constructors' Championship. And while everyone thought that was it, that was the end, it wasn't all doom and gloom, because the next year, 2005, was Toyota's best year ever. The TF105 was a huge redesign from last year, with new suspension and aero, and the 3-liter V10 outputting 940 horsepower and far more reliably, no less. And with Jarno Trulli and Ralf Schumacher behind the wheels, they scored 88 points over the season, scoring in almost every race but just 2. And one of those 2 was the historic US Grand Prix, the race where 7 teams all pulled into the pit lane to retire after the formation lap, a protest against their tire sponsor Michelin for not making changes after several tire blowouts injured drivers, one of which was a blowout during practice that very weekend in Ralf Schumacher's car, no less, a crash that put him in the hospital with thankfully only minor injuries. But even with all of that success in 2005, Toyota still only came 4th in the Constructors' Championship. For all of their progress, Toyota had yet to win a single race. And in a sport as cutthroat as Formula One, podiums alone weren't enough to silence the critics, let alone justify their enormous spending. At this point, Toyota had spent an estimated $2 billion on their F1 program, and it was getting harder and harder for the executives in Japan to just keep signing those checks. But after their breakthrough in 2005, Toyota entered 2006 with high hopes. They had an even larger budget and a refined version of the TF105, the TF106, so the expectations were podiums and maybe even their first victory. But as the 2006 season unfolded, those hopes would steadily unravel. Their only podium was a 3rd place finish in Australia, and everything from there was disappointingly average. But for those of you that wanted a little drama to the season, you got it in the form of official court charges of industrial espionage against 3 of Toyota's team members, one of which was none other than the team principal, Ove Andersson. Yes, the same Ove Andersson that launched the rally program in the 70s, won all those WRC championships, got caught cheating in WRC, and now was being charged with cheating here in Formula One. The 3 of them denied any guilt, but in the end, Toyota and Ferrari reached a closed-door deal that involved firing all 3 of them in order for Ferrari to drop the charges. And just like that, Toyota was out 3 of their top team members and stuck with a car that still couldn't perform. And well, they stuck it out for 2 more seasons after that, but by the end of 2008, Toyota had been in Formula One for 7 seasons, having spent something like $3 or $4 billion without securing a single win. And as the global financial crisis of 2008 loomed overhead, pressure mounted on the team to deliver results or face the axe. Lucky for Toyota, F1 was undergoing sweeping regulation changes for 2009, and Toyota saw one final opportunity to even the playing field and finally make their mark. Spoiler alert, they didn't. They came in 5th in the Constructors, and well, they never won a race. And as that 2009 season drew to a close, it became increasingly clear that Toyota's F1 program was breathing its final breath. The financial crisis hit Toyota hard, forcing the company to reevaluate its spending in light of their first ever financial loss. So in November 2009, Toyota announced that they were officially pulling out of Formula One. It was the end of an era. Toyota's motorsports wing rode alongside Toyota the company as they became the global automotive superpower, and yet, despite all the ambition, their endless resources and expertise, they left motorsports with nothing but unfulfilled potential. But, depending on who you ask, Toyota's F1 experience wasn't a total loss. The lessons they learned in aerodynamics, engineering, research into hybrid powertrains laid the foundation for their incredible success in endurance racing. And now, over a decade later from their last F1 appearance, whispers of Toyota's return to F1 have turned into a reality. And this time, they're coming back with an entirely new approach. You see, the Formula One landscape has changed dramatically since Toyota last competed, with a shift towards sustainability, hybrid powertrains, and cost caps. And this environment is now far more aligned with Toyota's core values than it was before. And so, instead of building an entire works team from scratch, they're focusing on collaboration, specifically with the smallest team on the grid, Haas. Now, Haas hasn't performed better than P7 in their 9-year tenure, kind of like Toyota, and they've desperately needed to figure out how to evolve among a already very fast grid. And well, that's where experienced partners come in. Haas has brought in Toyota Gazoo Racing. Yes, the ones that win all the rally championships and have the badges on the GR Corolla and Supra as a third partner to join alongside Ferrari and Dallara. Now, Toyota is not building the whole car, they're not even building the engine. Toyota is providing design, technical, and manufacturing services to Haas, and in return, Toyota has a testbed in Formula One to develop their own technologies, presumably for their road cars. Which, I'll be honest, doesn't sound like it means much. But when you consider Toyota Motorsports' Germany facility for their Le Mans team, you can see how Haas might be able to take a step forward in their engineering and design with Toyota. Selfishly, with absolutely no information whatsoever, I just want this partnership to lead to an LFA2, or maybe a Ferrari-Toyota collab, maybe a V12 hybrid Prius or something like that. Anyways, what's important is that Toyota is back in F1, baby, and while they're just providing resources right now, who knows? Maybe this is a first step in seeing a return of the fully fledged Toyota F1 team, and hopefully one that sucks a lot less than they did last time. Thanks for watching. Jump on the Albon Discord at the link below if you want to talk Formula One, or have video ideas, or have a project car, or just want to hang out with the Albon team. And don't forget to get a Plus Be and Chill t-shirt at the link below the like button. I'll see you guys in the next one.